What's up, warrior? Got Hashimoto's? Got autoimmune disease? Got hypothyroidism? Got depression? Got weight gain? Got skin issues? Got fatigue? Got insomnia? Got infertility? Got any of those? Download your free ebook below by following the link. I have all of the resources for you guys to reverse it or prevent it. What brings on autoimmune disease? We must have a genetic predisposition. Mom and dad, mom or dad. And then you might see that some of your siblings have some kind of autoimmune disease. That's in the case with me. My brother has one too. And so we are born with genes that might predispose us, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we are going to be fated with it. So it's not your end zone, but it is your caution zone. So if you have parents who have it too, or any autoimmune disease, we could pick up any one or more autoimmune diseases. In fact, one autoimmune disease normally leads into a bunch of other ones. So my goal and my role is to help you reverse it before it even starts. So know that it's not your fate, but it does start with what you put on your plate. And number 2, intestinal permeability. What does that mean? What does leaky gut mean? When we eat food, food particles should never leave the body. In other words, what that means is from the mouth to the butt, we've got this long PVC pipe thing that is responsible for breaking down and absorbing nutrients from food, but food particles should never leak into the body, into the bloodstream, in other words. So the small intestine is where we're supposed to absorb a bunch of nutrients. Now, what's sad is that today, a lot of things are very toxic to that small, tiny one-cell lining of the small intestine that is like the size of a tennis court in surface. And it's such a delicate thing that prescription drugs and all sorts of other things like gluten, yes, gluten I know, and dairy, will rub that lining, and then food particles leak into the bloodstream. The immune system goes, whoa, those aren't supposed to be there, and it starts sending all these antibodies to try to escort those things, good or bad pieces, out of the body. And then we have an autoimmune attack that doesn't stop unless we tell it to stop. By reducing environmental triggers that might trip it up. Environmental triggers can even be healthy foods that just leak into the bloodstream, and the immune system just gets confused. And sadly, the environmental trigger can mean a baby. When a mom is carrying the baby after pregnancy and after delivery, she may turn up, all of a sudden she can't lose weight. And this happens so often. So places in my heart for you ladies who are doing everything right, but the scale's not budging. Your energy levels aren't changing. You're chasing caffeine, and you wish you could be chasing your kids just as aggressively. So these 3 things are the perfect disaster for an autoimmune disease to start. But guess what? It's reversible. I started the Warrior Cleanse in order to show you guys how. But first, let's take a look at some of the tests that you can look at with me or another health practitioner in functional medicine to explore the root causes, because your thyroid typically is not the thing that's broken. It's the underlying causes in your body that are breaking it. So let's have a look real quick. So these are tests that we run through insurance. If you want to work with us, we work with people all around the world. But if you're in America, then we could work with your insurance, depending which one you have, and get these at the reduced rate. So I work distance with patients. And here are some of the examples, just so that you get the idea of what they look like and how comprehensive they are. This is not something that you can just walk into your regular hospital or your regular practitioner or endocrinologist and ask for, because a lot of them are not trained to see that these are of value and healing you. This is a food sensitivity test, not an allergy test. And this looks at the underlying roots of inflammation in the gut. And as you'll read in the ebook, that's one of the top 5 reasons why many Americans are struggling with hypothyroidism, Hashimoto's today. So if we start to reduce some of these foods in her diet that are lit up, then her gut inflammation will go down, and her thyroid hormones will begin to output at a more effective level, and she'll begin to heal. The next one is looking at nutritive deficiencies. Now, vitamin D is one of the most common that we see. Vitamin D helps to reduce gut inflammation as well, and so it's really also critical to learn how to get higher levels of absorption rates in vitamin D, because we see a lot of people who are taking like 10,000 IUs and it's still not making any difference. So what's going on? Make sure to download the ebook and you'll see the answer to that, so you know what to do for your healing journey. Also, B vitamins are critical for hormone conversion of the thyroid, and so too is magnesium, so that we don't get constipated, which most Americans now are going to the bathroom every 1 to 2 or every 1 to 3 days. No wonder why we're obese, huh? So this is another test that we run. Really, really important, very powerful information to know, so that you're not taking the wrong supplements, you're not taking like 15 of them and spending a lot of money. Ideally, we want to just get you down to the basics and customize the journey for you, of course.
Estrogen dominance is another one that you'll see. Estrogen in high levels will eat. It's kind of like the Miss Pac-Man for your thyroid hormones. And as you can see, this particular client who came into us, she was at a level of 19.3, and she was in the luteal phase, so she was nearly 3 times the amount we'd like to see. Estrogen is also a growth hormone, so things like breast cancer and PCOS and other growth-related fibroids and tissues in the body come from estrogen dominance, as well as obesity and fatigue and mood and infertility. Especially low levels of progesterone will also inhibit the conversion of T3 or T4 to T3, which is really important for a well-functioning thyroid, as well as the hormones that are being converted in the body. And testosterone, her levels of testosterone were low. That's another contributing factor. This is an adrenal hormone, sex, stress, and sleep hormone lab that we look at to see what her hormonal levels are outside of just the thyroid. So important, because pretty much every single person that has an autoimmune disease also has an adrenal dysfunction. So we've got to look at that too. And this is also another test that is saliva, not blood. All right. This is where you can see her low levels of vitamin D. We like to see this around 70, and she was about 1/3 of that amount. We also see that she's got higher levels of heavy metals, which also can contribute to interference of thyroid conversion of hormones in the body, which means that it might not be the thyroid's fault. It's just the text messages throughout the body can't be sent through because there's so much toxicity going on. So we want to test that too. And then also here we see that in her stool tests, she's not breaking down protein very well. When you see people not breaking down protein well, that means that they have low stomach acid. 90% of Americans have not enough stomach acid as opposed to too much, yet the top prescribed drug today in America is the purple pill, Prilosec, acid-suppressing medication. So you can see how this is starting to really damage Americans, and why Hashimoto's hypothyroidism and autoimmune disease in general is starting to become highly on the rise. If she's not breaking down protein well, then she's not going to have enough of the amino acid blockers to repair tissues, as well as to make selenium, so that also helps with thyroid and getting rid of any kind of byproducts of conversion or releasing of hormones. Otherwise, if we don't have things to escort all the bad stuff out of the body, then it just gets stuck somewhere and we start to expand in the waistline. And so you can see here that hypochlorhydria, low stomach acid, which is associated with use of acid blocking medications. Pretty crazy, huh? All right, and also food reactions. So that was the first slide we looked at. And this is the last one I wanted to show you guys. This is her thyroid test. Now, I can't diagnose, none of us in our practice can diagnose, but we can observe these patterns and look for patterns that are leading to Hashimoto's hypothyroidism. Anytime that there's levels outside of these in the red, it is hinting toward Hashimoto's, which is the autoimmune disease component of this Hashimoto's hypothyroidism. Now, a lot of doctors will test this the other way around. They'll look at TSH and T4 and they'll go, oh, no, you're within range. And they won't look at thyroid antibodies. But as you will read in the ebook below, 90% of the reason why we have hypothyroidism is fueled by Hashimoto's. So why aren't doctors testing it the other way around? Read more about that in the ebook below. But in this situation also, the TSH markers, it's very, very widely determined all throughout America, different ranges of TSH that they'll say, yes, you have an issue, or no, you won't. So lab reagents today are pretty much anywhere between 0.25 and 0.5 all the way up to 5 and sometimes 8. So in the definition for most MDs and endocrinologists, this 3.63 might actually mean that she's in range and there's nothing going wrong. But another person might look at this and go, oh, this is a hypothyroidism trend. So it's important to look at all 6 markers, which is what 99% of endocrinologists and MDs do not do today. And then this was the testimonial. So once we went through and explored all of her tests and got her on her healing journey to heal her leaky gut and the 3 things that I talked about in the beginning of this video, then she started to lose weight and feel better.
Does that make sense to you guys? So now you've seen how a lot of these things can play a part and a role in autoimmune disease. You're not stuck, dude. You're not stuck with this. This is something that is totally preventable and totally reversible. How do I know? Because I did it myself. So my role here is to help you guys save a lot of money, a lot of time, and to save your life. I welcome you guys to download the really helpful ebook below that I wrote for you, as well as all the steps that you can take, your action plan to reversing this disease, because you can do this. You can. Know that you're not alone. The maze is pretty crazy. If you want to take it on your own, go for it. tons of tools below. But if you want help customizing this journey for you, we're here for you. We got your back. See you there. Namaste.